Welcome back to the Church of Doom. My name is Landon. Welcome back. This is my YouTube channel where I ramble about all the cool, weird, role-playing game things I've got going on in my life. Be it writing, creating, kit bashing some minis. I've got a couple actually printing right now that I'll be showing off in a future video, maybe later this week. But today, I'm coming to y'all with another verse of ideas from the Book of Monster Psalms, my Kickstarter that wrapped up that I'm finishing editing. Last time we looked at... What did we look at last time? I can't even remember. But this time we're looking at the Cultist, the Zealous Cultist. The art was done by my good buddy Cameron Royce, who did the art. Where the hell is my mouse? There it is. This is Cameron Royce's work. What's really cool about Cameron is that he never went to art school. Like, he is completely self-taught, and you just, if you go keep an eye on my channel and you'll see all of his different art as I showed off, like, he's crazy talented. So I was really fortunate to be able to get him to help me out with this project. But the random table that we're looking at today, as the title of this video implied, is how you came to be indoctrinated into this cult, or how your, BBG came to be indoctrinated into the cult. Wow, I'm going to probably do that a lot in this video. Or how one of the character's siblings became indoctrinated, or how maybe, if you don't play RPGs, you're just here because you want to listen for cool ideas for your book or whatever. Maybe this is how one of the side characters gets indoctrinated. Who knows? But it's going to be a fun list. So that's all I've really got to get us going into things. I don't really have any other announcements. So let's start things off with idea number one. The Zealous Cultist is indoctrinated while following a pilgrimage across the upper level of hell that must last 1d6 days and 1d6 nights, and claim the souls of 1d6 of your fellow pilgrims. How could I use this in a campaign? Some of the first ideas that are jumping in my mind is maybe if you're running a campaign already set in hell, maybe like Descent into Avernus or something like that, you could have your characters run into these cultists who are on their pilgrimage. It's like a social random encounter. It's not combat. They don't run into them and the cultists immediately are like, rah, like, we're going to kill you, because the cultists don't want to kill anybody else. They need to kill each other. So then the characters, if they uncover that through their roleplay, maybe they'll start to choose sides and they'll help each other, or they'll help come up with schemes to kill the other cultists to make sure the ones they like survive. That could be really, really fun. Another idea, though, could be just running this as the campaign. Your players are all level 1 or even level 0 cultists who, by the end of the campaign, which, you could run it as long as you want, really, but a couple sessions I think is plenty for a campaign of this style. Once they get to the other side of hell, maybe they're level 2 or level 3, and it's not like this grand, huge, crazy arc, because at the end of this, they're not going to be so powerful they can overthrow the cult leader. They just survived and now have a few magical blessings from whatever fiend they were, following or running from on this pilgrimage. I think that would be really cool. Same thing as a one-shot, too. Doesn't have to be a whole campaign. But that is idea number 1, which I called Her Footsteps. Because in my world, in my D&D world, the god queen, or the goddess of good, is kind of who I imagine these cultists think they're following the footsteps of. They believe, or there's fables that she crossed hell, and so they try and recreate this pilgrimage. But it could be whatever you want, right? Idea number 2: the Zealous Cultist is indoctrinated. Lambkin. Oh my god. Okay, I think this one is my favorite of this list. Future Landon, realizing typo here. So make sure you point that out in the comments and say, actually, you have an extra of after birthing. I know, okay? Final edits are coming. It's a work in progress. They were indoctrinated through the unholy act of birthing a black lamb, which they must then raise to maturity and ritualistically sacrifice. I forgot about that last part. Okay, I'm pretty sure where this came from, or what inspired this idea, was in Kingsman, which, that movie, I feel like was underrated. It's so good. The ones that came after it were fine. But the first Kingsman, oh, so good. Anyways, in that movie, Kingsman, the spies are given a dog when they, go into spy school or whatever. And then when they are graduating, they have to execute the dog. But they don't know that there are blanks in the gun. They just believe that they're going to have to kill this their best friend, right? So I thought, well, you could do something similar, but how do we make that weirder? How do you make that freakier? Well, maybe they have to, I always associate, I'm sure a lot of us do associate billy goats and sheep and things like that with the devil, like in the movie The Witch. So I had that idea, like, okay, that's a common thread. Oh, what if they had to birth the lamb that they then sacrifice? Because I always, whenever I think of like the Greek pantheon, I think of ritualistically sacrificing a lamb or a goat. So all of those ideas kind of came together to form this horrible body horror inspiring idea of a mortal, be they man or woman, birthing a lamb, and not like a little devil billy goat guy, like a little imp, like a literal just a black lamb that should not have been able to be birthed by a mortal, and then they raise it up and then sacrifice it to whatever their god is. And maybe if you were to introduce this into your campaign, maybe you've got maybe the cult is like only needs to sacrifice 1d4 more of these goats. Or you know what? No, you don't even need to make it random. Just have it be down to the last one. There's one goat left that needs to be birthed and sacrificed. And who's carrying it? One of the characters' siblings. Oh, what are they going to do when they learn that not only is their sibling pregnant, but they're also carrying a demon lamb? And like, how do you even go about that? That's like a crazy campaign concept. I don't even know if I would ever go there. Idea number 3, euthanasia. So the cultist was indoctrinated through the willing consumption of lethal poison so they may be physically and spiritually reborn by their leader's hand. The poison is actually a potent hallucinogen that merely tricks the cultists into believing they have died. This was definitely inspired by, oh god, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but me and Aaron just watched it the other night about the guy who took his cult down or over to, I think it was in Africa, and he was the one who like had everybody drink the Kool-Aid. That's where that saying I think came from. So that was fresh on my mind, and I was trying to think of an idea or a way to work that into D&D with a cultist. I thought, well, cult leaders are kind of, sometimes they can kind of be like con artists in the way that they're using the cultists for their own means or their own gain, and the cultists aren't really going to get anything out of it. I thought, maybe that could be a way to flip this idea. So instead of actually dying and having a cult leader who is actually powerful enough to bring all these people back from the dead, what if none of these people actually have any sort of blessing or any sort of miraculous thing that's happened to them? They just basically had a really, really terrifyingly bad trip, and this cult leader, was there to sober them up and convince them that they had just died. And now these people who have died once before would they would of course be willing to throw their second life, this gift they've been given, right? They'd be willing to sacrifice that for this cult leader in a heartbeat. So I think that this idea is really cool to give your cultists a really, really strong motivation to do crazy things for the cult in whatever adventure or story you're trying to tell. Actually, just had another idea. This could be a cool backstory for a character. Exclude this information from the player. The player thinks they died and were resurrected by this cult leader. But over the course of the campaign, as they're taking down this cult or whatever they decide to do, what happens when they learn that they never actually died? Will the character realize they've been so reckless and careless with their life ever since then? Or will it be this like really freeing thing for them? You have no way of knowing that. That's up to the character and the player to feel in the moment. But that would just be one of the craziest plot twists I think you could pull on a character. So if anybody ends up ever doing that, make sure to find a way to let me know, because I'd love to hear how it goes. Idea number 4. Get my mouse back over to this side. There we go. The cultist was indoctrinated by serving as an undead thrall for 1d12 years before then being raised as a true necromancer, assuming your remains are found intact or scavengable. It's like a promotion. You put your time in with this cult long enough, and I love always having some variety there. Some get really lucky and only have to do this for a year. Others are extremely unlucky and have to be an undead for 12 years. And during that time, how likely are you to actually have intact remains? All right. That was a little detail I made sure to work into there of like, these cultists or these cult leaders who are promising the destiny of being a necromancer, they don't want everybody to become a necromancer. That's so many, right? They can't possibly fulfill that promise. So this seemed like kind of a way for them to get out of that promise, right? Oh, sure, like maybe it's a lottery, right? At their cult meetings, everybody pulls a Hunger Games style number out of a hat, and the number is how many years you have to serve. And some people only have the one, and they're going to be great. They're the ones who are going to end up probably as the necromancers. The ones who pull the 12s, well, they're going to probably end up hacked to pieces by an adventurer, later than year 4, right? To make it to year 12 would be an absolute miracle for some of these cultists. So, and now that's giving me an idea of like, what if there was a runaway? What if your players met a runaway from this cult who drew the 12? And they're like, fuck that. No way. I'm not spending 12 years of my life rotting as a zombie just to get my head smashed in by an adventurer, right? I'm done. And now this cult is like, that's not how this works. And they've sent maybe like some undead bounty hunters. Oh, or now, what if it's like a bounty hunter who has zombies on chains, kind of uses them like hound dogs. Oh, that would be really cool. And they're tracking this person down. And of course, this person is related to one of the characters, or is a friend of theirs, or is a past acquaintance to build that connection. That would be awesome. Let me know if you got other ideas of how you could do Minion, though. That one, I think that's so cool. Oh, I'm sorry, another note. God, I keep having these like random little thoughts of inspiration too, but another idea I had with this was, this would explain why skeletons are just left in a room. Like, I guess, yes, like you leave skeletons as guards, but where did those skeletons come from? Were they just dug up from a grave somewhere like every other skeleton? Sure, like, and are your players really going to ever push you for this information? No, but as a game master or a world builder, we all know how fun it is to have answers for these, and I thought this was an interesting answer for the question of, where do the skeleton guards come from? They weren't just dug up. These are volunteers. They knew this is what they were going to be doing, because eventually they're going to come back. And maybe there's like a little emblem or some sort of like, maybe they all wear the same emerald necklace, and those stones and some sort of, the artwork in the way that the jewelry is made kind of conveys what this will do. And when their sentence is served, or when their time is served, the spell is cast on this necklace and it resurrects them. And the characters, if they've done their due diligence, which they most certainly will not, they'll realize they're stealing these NPCs, basically. They're stealing their only chance at coming back. And if it's an evil cult, then there's no question there. It's like, yeah, let's take all of them. Who cares? We don't want them to come back. But what if this cult isn't that bad? Like, what if it's, yeah, they've got some maybe like questionable practices, but so does every adventuring party. So how are they really that different? Then if you have a group that likes agonizing over every decision and the morality of role playing and stuff, then that's a really cool way to maybe throw them a bone and give them something to like really debate over. Idea number 5, Ritual Pyre. The zealous cultist was indoctrinated by setting ablaze a marked residence or structure which the cult has noted as housing enemies of their patron/mission. So it's just arsony, right? They're pointing to, we need you to go burn down the guard captain's house, or we need you to go burn down what would be like a weird one? Like maybe there's like a magician, like a magician that they're wanting to drive out of town for some weird reason. Like, you know what I'm thinking? That just has me thinking of Arrested Development with Job Bluth and the Wizards Alliance, or Magicians Alliance. He like revealed a secret, and then now they're wanting to like burn down his home and get him out of the city because he gave up one of the magician's secrets. That's so stupid and silly, but how could we do this? You've got a magician stumbled into one of the cult's rituals, but because they're a magician, they were able to disappear. But the cultists have tracked them down, and they've sent one of their agents to go burn this person's house down. And so how do your characters get involved with this? Maybe one of the characters is the magician. They were the one who went in on the stealth mission, and now they got exiled. I'm going to great lengths right now to try and connect this to a show that probably a lot of you never even watched. But I feel like I did it, and I'm ready to move on now. So, last idea for how the zealous cultist might have been indoctrinated was Blackrock. So, they were indoctrinated by committing themselves to 1d4 decades in a torture asylum where they secretly meet the cult's leadership and train in its unholy occult practices. I think this might have originally started as an idea I had for a thieves guild. Like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if the people who were getting sent to prison were doing all of the training like right under the noses of the very people who sent them there, like a cat and mouse sort of thing. But it never ended up getting used in a Thieves Guild, so it made its way here for a cult to be using. And another idea I'm having right now, as I'm kind of thinking about it, is whatever that is. What's the movie I'm thinking of? Prisoner of Azkaban, which is so not it. What's the movie where the guys dig the tunnel out of prison? It's not Prisoner of Azkaban. What the fuck is that movie? I cannot remember. But anyways, the idea of people digging, that's where I was going with that. What if these cultists had attempted to dig their way out of this asylum, but instead they stumbled upon this demonic temple or some sort of ancient fiendish dungeon under the asylum, so they never left? And that's the cult's origins. It was founded by people who meant to escape. They were sound of mind. They were like, we've got to get out of here. This place is horrible. And then they stumbled across, maybe it's the asylum's greatest secret and they know about this temple. Or maybe it was like, they were just digging down with their spoons and kind of, whoa, like the ground gave out from under them and they fell into this sort of fiendish temple. I would probably go with that one, actually. I think the asylum knowing about it beforehand just introduces so many other layers of, not necessarily complexity, but it's like, well, wouldn't the asylum staff have people there who would have seen them fall from this? There's all those kinds of things. So I don't think I probably wouldn't do that one. But the idea is still very, very cool of a cult initiating its members in prison. I mean, how many ideas could you honestly just steal from every prison documentary on Netflix for that adventure? You could literally binge a whole weekend of those and have a campaign or a one-shot ready to go. And that's also kind of my hope with these videos in this channel. So we're here at the end. I want to say thank you to everybody who stuck around with me to the very end. I hope you've gotten some inspiration from this to either go prep a cool story or adventure for your RPG campaign, or if you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're a whatever, if you're just someone who's interested in weird, nerdy fantasy things, then I hope this video was fun for you and a good use of your time. I am making a very conscious effort lately to be mindful in the content I'm consuming, and so if you're doing the same, thank you for allowing me to be one of those. I did want to just point something out real quick here, that if you like these ideas that I've been sharing so far, and if you're like, oh man, I can't believe I missed that Kickstarter, gosh, I wish I could still get this book, guess what? There is a way to do that. On the Church of Doom's Patreon. This is a great way to also support the church regardless, but I have been releasing the PDFs as I've been going for these, and I'm a couple ahead actually on the Patreon. I just released the dragon, and I've got a couple more that I'm going to release either later today or tomorrow. But the dinosaurs on there. Here's the cultist, right? So there were a couple that I've released since then. But you can go download the PDF as a patron. It starts at $3 a month, and you can get all of those, as well as everything I've ever, everything that's on my Patreon right now. You can go download it for $3 a month. So just wanted to plug that real quick at the end. And that's it for me. Checking my agenda real quick. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for watching. We say these things in their unholy names. Amen.